Well, things got rugged in Georgia yesterday with Fani Willis on the witness stand, Nathan Wade also on the witness stand. After the hearing yesterday, do you think Fani Willis can regain control of the Trump case? I would love to hear from you. Phone lines are open. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. Give us a call right now. 605-336-1320 is my number. Can Fani Willis regain control of the Trump case that we've been seeing in Georgia? It was not a good day for Fani Willis and Nathan Wade yesterday. I would love to hear from you. 605-336-1320 is the Kello hotline. Please share your thoughts with us. That was the question the Guardian actually asked. Can Fani Willis regain control of the Trump case? And it was not a good day. It was not a good day. Fani Willis was under a lot of pressure. She got angry. She was visibly upset. Now, keep in mind, Fani Willis originally did not want to appear as a witness in this. She did everything she could to stay off the witness stand. But yesterday, she didn't shy away from anything. She came in with full head of steam. And she was trying to, at several times, she was admonished by the judge. And she went at the prosecutor with the defense, I should say, at one point. The defense, waving papers. It's a lie, she was saying. Do you think I'm on trial? These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial, she said. And she said this to Ashley Merchant, who is one of Donald Trump's, it's not Trump. It's an associate of Trump who's bringing the case. And Ashley Merchant is his lawyer. And so Willis said, Merchant's interests are contrary to democracy. So I would love to get your response to all this. 605-336-1320. We'll start with Steve. Good morning, Steve. You're on Kello.
Happy Friday, Greg.
Hey, buddy.
So I actually watched almost all of this yesterday while I was sitting here at work.
Well, give us a play-by-play. Walk us through the big moments for you.
Well, I don't know that anything that was truthful came out of her mouth or her boyfriend's mouth.
Yeah.
Just their body language and the circles and that they were walking around told me that they didn't know the truth or they didn't want to tell the truth. Just their Atlanta should be embarrassed that these people
right.
are in charge of things anywhere. The very first thing I remember her say, so the Fani Willis gets on the stand and the attorney asks her a question and she says, "That's a lie." And it's like, well, it's not a lie. That was a question that you answer yes or no to. If it's a lie, you say no. And it devolved from there. And the judge reprimanded her a couple of times she thought that she was in charge of that room. And what she said was the way things were going to be.
That's the impression that I got. Now, again, I did not watch it all, but I heard some of the testimony pieces of it. And, yeah, it seemed like she wanted to be in control, argumentative with the judge. And I thought, wow,
Yeah. She would pre-answer questions. Like, she'd get a question, and she could see where they were going, so she would jump right to the end. It's like, well, that's not how that works. If you know where they're going to go, then that tells me that you've probably practiced this already because you know there's something bad at the end of the question.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this whole thing over in your mind?
I'd like to think that it should be, but it probably won't be.
No, I bet they'll drag it out. My expectation is that they're going to drag it out. We'll see. But I can't imagine after yesterday that anything of substance is going to come from this.
No, but, the people against Trump, they're going to keep this thing going as long as they can because, the end of the road is Trump is going to be president, and they don't want that. So whatever obstacles we can throw up, we're going to do it, and they don't care who they have to burn down to do it either.
So you don't think they helped themselves at all yesterday?
Not even a tiny bit. If any, they absolutely destroyed any credibility they had. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You can
and Nathan Wade, I did watch some of Nathan Wade. I had it on here in the studio as I was doing some work, and his responses and the way he would, that smirking face, I'm like, that alone kind of said, hey, wait a minute, you're smirking the whole time he's giving testimony. And I just, that did not sit right with me.
About the only thing he did for himself was get himself an audit from the IRS because he basically admitted to cheating on his taxes and hiding income from his soon-to-be ex-wife.
Well, yes, and what about this whole thing about, her giving him cash to cover all these expenses? That's got dirty written all over it.
Right. Yeah, I've just always had cash. Well, that's not quite what where did the cash come from? Sure, if you got cash, all right, I see that. But where did it come from? Where are you keeping it?
Yeah, just raises more questions than it answers. Hey, Steve, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for your thoughts, buddy. Always a pleasure. 605-336-1320. Can Fani Willis regain control of the Trump case down in Georgia after yesterday's testimony? What do you think? Good morning, Rick. You're on Kello.
Hey, Greg. I happened to be home yesterday on a rare occasion, so I had it on while I was working in my home office.
Well, I hope you grabbed some popcorn and made a day of it.
I was giggling like a little schoolgirl at a concert. I mean, holy cow! I couldn't believe how kind of standoffish she was, and the boyfriend was about as dumb as rocks. I mean, they would ask him a question, and there was one question they asked that he kind of had his head up in the air, and there was a long pause of probably at least a minute. It seemed like it lasted for about 10 minutes, and basically, I think the question was about. If he'd ever been there to her house, or no, to a cabin.
Right, yep.
They ever went to a cabin.
Yep.
Yeah, and he could remember. I think I could remember if I went to a cabin with a woman or not, and then but you mentioned
that's
it,
not something you easily forgotten for most of us.
Well, he seemed to be having a Joe Biden syndrome and forgetting a lot of stuff. I think I think that maybe trickled down into the Trump derangement syndrome for everybody, But the biggest thing I took away, and you just mentioned it, was the cash. They were asking Fani, where did the cash come from? And then she said, through sweat and tears or something to that effect, like she earned it. But the question was, where did she get it? Did she go to the ATM? Did she withdraw it from the bank? She wouldn't answer the question, And there's no paper trail. There's not going to be anything. And they profited. Basically what it comes down to and what they're trying to prove is they profited from this whole thing and then lived this lavish lifestyle by going to Napa Valley and wine tasting and going on these cruises and trips to South America. She could even tell the judge, what continent South America, where Belize was and where Aruba was. And it was funny.
And do I understand correctly? She makes substantially less money than he did, right? She earns far, far less money than he does. Because he's somewhere in the arena of $600,000 in excess of $600,000 a year. That's where he's at. She's earning far, far less than that. So you wonder, where in the hell is all that money coming from?
Well, and that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to audit her. I'd love to see this because now we're talking about possibly IRS violations and everything else, tax violations. Where was all this money that she was paying him cash for? Where was it coming from? The withdrawal should be there. If she was taking that kind of money out and withdrawing that money, there
Yep.
should be a paper trail there. But she even said too, "Oh, I keep cash in my house, and I because I was raised that way to keep cash in my house." And I'm just rolling over and laughing. I'm going, "You're just caught dead to rights, lady. You are done. You are done. Put a fork in you. You're done, lady."
So, if this thing drags on, I expect that it will. But after the testimony yesterday, eventually, do you think the charges are going to have to be dropped?
Well, again, like your last caller said, you would think so in a normal world, but we're in, as you say, bizarro world. So, I don't know. I think they should. I think it's obvious that this was all a scam and it was meant to go get Trump. And you see it, I see it. I think most of America sees it. But in the bizarro world of Trump derangement syndrome, who knows? Who knows? I mean, it's just a roll of the dice. You don't know.
Yeah, folks just don't see events through any prism of reality all too often. Hey, thank you, my friend. Good to talk to you, Rick. Phone lines are open, 605-336-1320. Now's the time to call, 605-336-1320. Question we're asking is, can Fani Willis, after yesterday's testimony, and it was not good, can Fani Willis regain control of the Trump case? Where does this go from here? I would love to hear from you, 605-336-1320. So, Sheba, I watched the Nathan Wade testimony yesterday. I had it on in the studio as I was doing some work yesterday. And it was just, you just feel dirty. You know what I mean? Or you were just laughing. You're laughing at the reactions, and you think, how can anybody be believing this? So Fani Willis then takes the stand then yesterday afternoon. And as I said, she started out, she was screaming into the microphone. And this was she was being questioned by Ashley Merchant. And she is the attorney representing Mike Roman, right? And so Merchant asked whether Wade had ever slept over at an apartment that Willis subleased from a friend. And she was screaming into the microphone, "It's a lie! It's a lie!" She's screaming into the microphone. And reports say after the break, Willis and Merchant then continued to interrupt and talk over each other, and the judge steps in and tells Willis, "You have to listen to the question as asked, and if this happens again and again, I'm going to have no choice but to strike the testimony." There was another exchange, and that was one of several times that the judge had to caution her. Then there was another exchange when the attorney questioned her about how she split bills with Wade. And Willis said, "That was cute, but I didn't give him money in a contract. Don't be cute with me and think you're going to get an answer." So, I mean, that's the way she was responding. So, I mean, you might win cases with an attitude like that, although it wouldn't win me over as a juror in any case. That kind of attitude and that kind of just, doesn't win me over. And I just thought it was just absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. So Willis said she had been eagerly waiting to be able to give her side of the story. Is that why she fought so hard for for weeks not to take the bench. She didn't want to, or not to appear as a witness. She didn't want to appear on the stand for weeks. She was fighting that she shouldn't have to appear, making the arguments and that no, she shouldn't have to appear. And she does, and then she comes in with a head full of steam. So she goes after then Ashley Merchant for lying in papers. She said, "You lied on Monday, and yet here we are," Willis says. And she said, "Given how dishonest you were with the court on Monday, I'm actually surprised the hearing continued. But since it did, here I am," she said. So it's, well, yeah, there's dishonesty at play here, at work here. I think we all see it, but it's not coming from Michael Roman's attorneys. I think we all can see where the dishonesty and is coming from. Then Willis told Merchant she was extremely offended by the implication that she slept with Wade after her first time meeting him back in 2019. Extremely offended by that. And that became an issue because there was a witness who was a former employee in the DA's office. So, in other words, a former employee of Fani Willis. They had been friends early on. They'd met each other in college. So this former employee said she was a longtime friend of Willis. And she took the stand and she said there was no doubt that Willis and Wade were romantically involved in 2019. They're trying to say, no, it was, much later than that, 2022. And you got a witness on the stand saying, no, in 2019, they were already romantically involved. She testified she had seen Willis and Wade kissing and hugging, saw them generally being affectionate toward each other. It was pretty wild. I just watched this and I thought this is just a train wreck. You look at this, and she said at one point she was asked then about flight records for Wade and Willis and their trips together. And she said, "You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial," she said. Actually, she is at the moment. She is. She is. And she said, these people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial. No matter how hard you try to put me on trial. Now, the reality is, you kind of are. You are on trial. Where was all this money coming from? It's just incredible. So Willis said she used cash from a stash she kept at home, and she always squirreled away money. And it could range from a few $100s to as much as $15,000. You're a public servant. You're squirreling away as much as $15,000. Seriously, no. Seriously. You're a Fulton County District Attorney. Seriously? You're squirreling away $15,000 in cash in your home? You can call me stupid. I find that hard to believe. I find that really, really hard to believe. So then Merchant asked, that cash, do you know where it came from? It came from my sweat and tears, she said. Oh, really? Your sweat and tears, what, trying to get Donald Trump into court? I mean, that's rather than being out there aggressively prosecuting crimes in Fulton County, you're after Donald Trump. The whole thing was just incredible. So Merchant then asked, well, if it was from her work as a prime attorney or as district attorney, where'd that money come from? And then again, Willis snapped, what are you talking about? And then she accused Merchant of mischaracterizing my testimony greatly. I'm not going to allow you to mischaracterize my testimony. So the whole thing was just an absolute train wreck. So Willis and Wade now are no longer an item, and the pairs, their split had absolutely nothing to do with the Trump indictment. But the whole thing is just really kind of distasteful, I think.